Good morning, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for joining me. I always appreciate your presence. Today is April the 12th, 2023. I have just a little bit update to share with you about the crisis in Amhara region, the second or third civil war, Ethiopia's civil war. Just after we took break from Tigray war. Before I jump to that one, I have a short clip from Ethio360. Ermiyas Legese departing from Ethio360. So I will start with that one and give you just a very short update on the crisis in Amhara region. Thank you again for joining me. Let's listen to him.
በርካታ ተመልካቾችና አድማጮች የኔን ከዛሬ ምናለ እንዲሁም ከሚዲያ መጥፋት ጋር ተያይዞ በጣም ተደጋጋሚ መልእክቶች ልካችሁልኛል። ለዚህ ከፍተኛ አክብሮቴን መግለጽ ፈልጋለሁ። ለሁላችሁም ግልጽ እንደሆነው እንግዲህ ባለፉት 3 አመታት ኢትዮ360 በመመስረትና በፕሮግራም ስሳተፍ ቆይቻለሁ። በዚህ ቆይታዬም በርካታ ውጣ ውረዶችን አሳልፌያለሁ። የህይወት አደጋ ድረስ ጭምር ማለት ነው። ሆኖም ባለፉት ጊዜያቶች በተለይም ባለፉት 1 አመታት በነበሩት ፕሮግራሞች በተለይም ዛሬ ምን አለ የሚባለው ዋና ፕሮግራም በግልጽ በሚታዩ ችግሮች ከጊዜ አጠቃቀም ጋር ልዩነቶች የሚስተናገዱበት አግባብ አንዳንድ አስተያየቶች ከኔ አልፎ አገር ቤት ጭምር ያሉ ቤተሰቦቼን የሚረብሹ ረፍት የሚነሱ ሆኖ ስላገኘዋቸው እንዲስተካከሉም የፕሮግራም ክለሳም እንዲደረግ ማናጀሯንም ጠይቄያት ነበር። አልተስተካከለም። በዚህ ምክንያት ራሴን ከፕሮግራሙ አግልያለሁ። ከዛ በተረፈ ሌሎች ፕሮግራሞችን ለመስራት ያለው እድልም ፕሮግራሞቹ በተለያየ ምክንያት እየተያዙ ስለሆነ እየጠበበ መሄዱን ተመልክቻለሁ። ከዛሬ ምናለ በኋላ የነበሩት በሙሉ መደበኛ በሚል ስለተያዙ አንዳችም ክፍተት የማገኝበት ሁኔታ እንደሌለ ተመልክቻለሁ። እዚህ ላይ እንግዲህ ኢትዮጵያውያን በተለይ ልብ እንድትሉ ፈልገው እኔ በኢትዮ360 በቦርድም በማኔጅመንትም በኤዲቶሪያልም አንዳችም ተሳትፎ የለኝም። ተሳትፎዬ ከፕሮግራም ዝግጅት የተሻገረ አይደለም። አንዳችም የማኔጅመንት ውሳኔ ውስጥ የለውበትም። ሐሳቤን ይዤ ነው የምመጣው። እየሄድኩ ያለሁትም ሐሳቤን ይዤ ነው እየሄድኩ ያለሁት። በመሆኑም የዛሬው የኢትዮ360 ፕሮግራሜ የመጨረሻ መሆኑን ስገልጽ በከፍተኛ ሀዘን ውስጥ ሆኜ ነው። በቆይታዬም የደገፋችሁኝ፣ ያከበራችሁኝ፣ ያጽናናችሁኝ ሰዎች በሙሉ አመሰግናለሁ። ሐሳቤን የምገልጽበት ሌላ መድረኮች ካሉ እነሱን ፈልጋለሁ። አብራችሁኝ የነበራችሁ የሥራ ባልደረቦቼንም እጅግ ማመሰግናችሁን አመሰግናለሁ። መልካም የሥራ ዘመን እንዲሆንላችሁ እመኛለሁ።
ኦኬ
የሥራ ዘመን እንዲሆንላችሁ እመኛለሁ። ጋሽ ሙሉጌታ
Okay, so that is Ermiyas Legese sadly departing from Ethio360 media after maybe more than 3 years on that media. He is not telling us the truth. The truth you can see from the expression. They don't want to accommodate him. No space, no room for him. You can understand. But he's politely leaving the media and also, appreciating the co-workers, appreciating the listeners and the viewers of the media, and wishing them good luck. So he is pushed out, you can understand he is pushed that Ethio360 media don't want to accommodate him and don't want to doesn't want to give a platform for his opinion. And as I watch Ethio360 media sometimes, or most of the time, even though I disagree with their opinion and their focus on Amhara, Amhara most of the time. I know this is coming, especially the confrontation between Ermiyas and Habtamu Ayalio recently. Serious confrontation. But Ermiyas Legasa is just saying it in a polite way and wishing them success and leaving them sadly. And he said he just living with his opinion. He's not in a managerial position. He's not in editorial board, or he is not a board member. So he's just living with his opinion. And just in case you didn't see this news from other medias, that's why I'm just informing you. Ermiyas Legasa is leaving Ethio360 for the last time and waiting for the other opportunity of his own on other social media. Okay, let's continue with the crisis in Amhara region. I have one from Addis Standard. Let me read what it says. Heavy fighting near Debre Brahan as violence continued to rack Amhara region. More cities impose restrictions. Several cities in the Amhara region, including the capital Bahir Dar, have continued to witness violence on Tuesday, following protests against the government's move to disband the regional special forces and recognize them into regular police and the National Army. Addis Standard has talked to eyewitnesses from Debre Brahan, Bahir Dar, and the Kombolcha cities where clashes between civilians and the members of the National Defense Force, as well as between the Amhara Regional Special Forces and the army were reported. According to an eyewitness who talked to Addis Standard on conditions of anonymity, there was heavy fighting between the Ethiopian National Defense Force and the members of the Amhara Regional Forces from early morning to late afternoon on Tuesday in Debre Brahan city, about 120 kilometers northeast of Addis Ababa. The situation has gotten worse. The people are currently in a serious state of tension. The eyewitness, who is a resident of the city, said he fears that several people may have been killed and wounded during the fighting. Residents from Bahir Dar and Kombolcha have also confirmed to Addis Standard that there were massive protests in the cities, accompanied by gunshots in both cities on Tuesday. On Monday night, 3 people were killed and 10 others were injured after a grenade exploded in a restaurant in the Bahir Dar, according to the VOA. Following the footsteps of the city of Gondar, Bahir Dar, Debre Brahan, Desse, and the Waldia city administration have imposed restriction on movement and gathering of people, as well as carrying weapons outside the authorized government security forces. Similar restrictions have also been imposed in the Oromo Special Zone in the Amhara region, where fighting has also been reported. In a statement it issued for the 5th time since the protest erupted in the Amhara region in connection with the decision to abolish the regional special forces. The National Movement of Amhara, or NAMA, reiterated its call for the federal government to relapse the decision, saying that it is unconstitutional and intended only to disband the Amhara region special forces. NAMA said the decision to dismantle the special force of the Amhara region and the way the decision is being implemented has caused the current instability and the breach of security in the Amhara region and has made the people and the region vulnerable to violence and instability. So this confrontation between Amhara Special Forces, Fano militia against Ethiopia Federal Forces is not an easy task, as I said before, because the problem is not about dismantling or disarming. The problem is these forces are and their supporters at home and around the world are clearly talking about, discussing about taking Arat Kilo, removing the Prosperity Party and taking power. So that is the challenge, and that is this fighting is about. It's not about dismantling. That's a simple thing. The bigger picture is hidden, even though it's mentioned by some media and by those armed people. Clearly, the target is Arat Kilo in Addis Ababa, taking power from Prosperity Party, come back to power, then govern Ethiopia the way they like it. So it's a very tough. It's a very tough. And for the government to handle all these public uprisings through gun, it will not be possible. So we'll see. It's a very tough one. How are you going to fight the whole region through guns? So for Abiy Ahmed, it's a matter of survival, and for those people, it's a matter about taking power, removing Prosperity Party from Arat Kilo. Okay, this one is about Meskerem Abera, journalist and teacher. Police accuses Meskerem Abera of giving shooting exercise to informal groups, requests 13 more days to file charges. Meskerem Abera, founder and owner of Ethio360, a YouTube-based media, who was arrested for the third time on Sunday by members of the federal police and the security forces wearing civilian clothes in the capital Addis Ababa, has been brought to court on Tuesday, being accused of giving military and shooting exercise to informal groups. Meskerem was arrested on Sunday around 1:20 p.m. from her residence after her house was searched by the security forces, who took 3 papers and her mobile phone during the search. Her husband, Fitsum Gebra Mikael, told Addis Standard. She appeared before the federal first instance court Arada division on Tuesday, and the court granted the police 13 days to remand and investigate her on allegation of committing crimes of inciting violence and riot. According to Fitsum, the studio where she records program for her YouTube-based Ethio360 media has also been searched after her arrest, but nothing was found there that could incriminate her. On 14 December, Meskerem was arrested by federal police and brought to court a day after, where she was accused of committing multiple offenses that include using social media and her own media Ethio360 to undermine the government, divide nations against one another, cause mistrust in the National Defense Forces, use the controversial issue of Oromiyas anthem and the flag in Addis Ababa schools to incite violence and instigating conflict in the Gurage zone. She was released on 50,000 birr bail after weeks of imprisonment. Prior to that, on 21st May, she was detained by security forces at Addis Ababa Bole International Airport after touching down from a flight that took off in Bahir Dar. But after several appearances, judges at the Federal First Instance Court Arada Division appointment hearing bench granted her a bail for 30,000 birr, resulting in her release from police custody after 23 days of detention. Meskerem's latest arrest has brought the number of journalists and media personalities arrested last week alone to at least 4. Gannet Asmamaw, a journalist at a YouTube-based Yeneta Media, was beaten and harassed by security forces when she was arrested on 6 April, according to an audio recorded during her arrest that is being widely shared on social media. Another 2 journalists, Abbay Zaudu of Amhara Media Center and Aragao Sisai of Roha News, were also arrested last week in Addis Ababa. Addis Standard previously reported the arrest on 26 March of journalist Getnet Ashagre, editor-in-chief of Amhara Voice Media, from his residence in Addis Ababa. So Abiy and the Prosperity Party have been tough on journalists. Despite the promises and the talk of freedom of expression in 2018, Abiy Ahmed and his team cannot tolerate any journalist who criticize the government. So they just putting maximum pressure on journalists, through bail money, 50,000, 30,000 or more, plus, continued harassment. So it's there, they are tough. They are tough. UN concerned by death threat against envoy to Sudan. The United Nations says it is deeply concerned by a video of a man publicly calling for the killing of its representative in Sudan, Volker Perthes. In outburst, the man accuses Mr. Perthes of interfering in the country's politics. The UN has urged Sudanese authorities to investigate the incident. Sudan is in political crisis after leaders this week failed to beat a deadline to form a civilian-led government. Differences between military functions have scuttled ongoing reform talks. The recording, which has been circulating on social media, shows an elderly Sudanese man verbally abusing the UN official and then asking for a fatwa for him to be killed. The incident happened during a meeting held by Islamist parties linked to the ouster former leader Omar al-Bashir. In a statement, the organizers said the man's comments didn't represent their views. Last year, thousands of Islamist protesters called for the German diplomat to leave Sudan, accusing him and the UN of meddling the country's politics. That's much better than threatening to kill somebody or calling for fatwa. So, Sudan has faced near weekly demonstrations since the army led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhani seized power from a civilian government in October 2021. Talks for the military to hand over power to a civilian-led government have stalled due to differences within military functions. This one is Anthony J. Blinken, Secretary of State, press release about announcing Matthew Miller as State Department spokesperson. Today, I'm appointing Matthew Miller as the next State Department spokesperson. I benefited greatly from Matthew's wisdom, his experience in government, and his deep understanding of foreign policy when he was tapped to head up my nomination. Matt stepped up once again in the early months of Russia's further invasion of Ukraine when he took leave to join the National Security Council to lead our role of government communications and outreach as part of our support for Ukraine's sovereignty and defense. Having previously served as Director of the Office of Public Affairs and a spokesperson to Attorney General Eric Holder at the Department of Justice, Matt is no stranger to navigating and communicating on complex global challenges like those we face today. I also want to thank Vedant Patel not only for stepping up as acting spokesperson, but for the continued work as principal deputy spokesperson. Matt, along with Vedant and the rest of the office of the spokesperson, will continue the department's commitment to access and transparency. I'm grateful to Matt for once again agreeing to serve his country and look forward to once again benefiting from his counsel and expertise. So that is Anthony Blinken appointing Matthew Miller as U.S. State Department spokesperson. Okay, that's the end of the reading. Let's listen to the videos I selected for today's update. Thank you again for joining me. Here we go.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Tuesday visited a camp for internally displaced persons in Baidoa in Somalia's southwest. Speaking through a translator, Guterres sat down with some of the displaced to hear their concerns. The UN chief arrived in Somalia on Tuesday on what he termed as a solidarity visit.
However, on the way,
first of all, I'm encouraged by the fact that we have now the capacity that the Somalis have developed to start increasing their possibility to liberate areas in relation to Shabab. They have done it already in other parts of the territory. I hope they will be able to do it also here.
Over 1 million people have been displaced in Somalia by a drought, which has led to near famine conditions and an Islamist insurgency waged by al-Shabaab.
What has been dramatic is 5 consecutive years of drought. The people I met have lost their livestock, have lost their property, have lost everything. So this combination of terrorism and drought, largely caused by climate change, creates a perfect storm for the people of Somalia.
The United Nations has launched a $2.6 billion call for humanitarian assistance, but Guterres said the appeal was only 15% funded.
We have 6 million people in need of assistance. We have launched an appeal to the international community. Only 15% of that appeal has been funded until now. international community has been absent-minded in relation to the drama of the people of Somalia. It's time to look seriously into these people that is suffering too much.
The UN says about half of Somalia's population will need humanitarian assistance this year, with 8.3 million affected by the drought.
US President Joe Biden arrived in Belfast on Tuesday evening at the start of his 4-day visit to Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic. After being briefly welcomed by British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, Biden was whisked away to his hotel. The president is in Northern Ireland to mark the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement that brought peace to this part of the United Kingdom. The US helps negotiate an end to often brutal sectarian violence that killed thousands over the course of several decades. Belfast police are on high alert for the visit, which will later today have Biden making a speech at the new Ulster University. Biden has said his top priority is to make sure the Irish Accords and the Windsor Agreement stay in place to keep the peace. He's also expected to talk about how the US administration can support Northern Ireland's fragile economy.
Okay, so these are the videos I choose for you for today's update. I appreciate UN chief call for humanitarian aid, urgent need for Somalia. You know, 6 million people are in need of humanitarian aid. So we appreciate his solidarity with the Somali people. He's being there in person and calling on us, on international community to help these people. That's very important messaging. And he's taking, risk by being there. And you see him with a bullet-proof vest. So that is too much. That's too much risk. But we appreciate Antonio Guterres for his urgent call for humanitarian aid in Somalia. We want him also to visit Borana and Guji and other drought impacted zones in Ethiopia. Please go there and do the same thing. Call for urgent humanitarian aid for for Oromos who are forgotten by the government and by international community. So we are happy you being in Somalia, but we need you also to be in Ethiopia, where the government is, hiding it from the global community. But these people lost their cattle, millions and millions, and they have everything. They have lost everything, I mean. So please, we need you right there to call for humanitarian aid in Ethiopia too. So the confrontation, the challenge between Abiy Ahmed Prosperity Party and the Amhara regional forces and the FANO, plus their supporters at home and around the world, is we should follow it very attentively, and I hope it will settle. Prosperity Party cannot fight the general public. The general public is behind those forces. So they have to figure out how to negotiate and settle this very serious matter. You cannot defeat the public with guns. So yes, there is confrontation, armed confrontation, as you heard, as you heard me reading from Addis Standard, but you cannot solve the general public anger against you and their desire to take your Arat Kilo by gun. So the Prosperity Party, they have to figure out how to settle this very serious civil war in the country, and we will watch it and we'll report to you. So that's all I'm gonna say for today. Thank you for joining me. Please be safe and so long.